Here's tightly tied back cornrows, skin the color of seared copper. Keeps his chin up when he calls me 5-0 behind my back. They say that I'm his counselor, but to him, I'm no better than any other asshole from the system that's raised him. So he keeps his sorrow sharpened into a rust-gray blade behind his arrogance. And in this line of work, I found myself one too many times on the wrong end of that knife's glint. We are many broken people under this one roof, but it is my job, my duty to be the unbreakable tether, but I doubt. So let's say tonight was a strange night for occurrences. Let's say tonight the moon blinked. 4 a.m. and he comes and finds me. Speed propping up his body into a wicked puppetry. Takes his seat and says nothing for 5 minutes. Teeth gnashed like the striking of two tenders. And he's a proud one. Refuses to break his posture. But his broken language of half words and bogged down garbles betray his bravado, so he will not look me in the face. And me, I'm not strong enough for the both of us. So I break before he does. Can't keep my voice from cracking long enough just to say it's okay, man. You know we could just sit here. 2 teardrops fall into the abscess lodged in the crook of his elbow as he tells me, I've lived in this fucking city my whole life and I've never seen the ocean. So I place a couple quarters on the table between us and I tell him, there's an ocean that goes further than any BART train can take you. Where nothing moves still and you can watch a red sun melt into blue. Nothing, it is no more than a 20-minute bus ride away. You can catch the 38. And I know you get nervous on public transportation. I'm going to let you in on something. I get really nervous on planes. But the great thing about it is when you're on one of those things, then you know you're going somewhere. So ride that bus, past your Pantown, down to Richmond, and right through the avenues. When you can taste the sea salt on your tongue, you know you're getting close. Get off at Point Lobos. Take a short walk over to the cliff house. See here, the Pacific wind swells are so great. Trees don't grow straight up. They grow in diagonal directions. And yes, the wind does bite. And oftentimes it'll flail. And sometimes the fog will roll in so thick you can't see but a few feet to every side of you. Maybe you were like me once and you thought heaven was up in the clouds. So, there's nothing to be afraid of here. Here it is okay to grieve. There's no need to keep running. You got no one to hustle, not even yourself. Take that bus. Find the sidewalk that runs alongside the great highway. Walk a quarter mile down the hill. Take the first set of stairs that you see to your right. And when you get there, let those feet sink into the sand. See, there is no rush. There is only that ocean you will see. It is bigger than the Tenderloin. It is bigger than Hunters Point. It is bigger than the Mission. It is bigger than Haight Street. As far as your 2 feet have ever taken you, it'll go further. See, I can't teach you much. The only thing I can say is, if you have no imagination, you'll never see past Van Ness Ave. See, this right here, it is the rest of the world. Take a chance. Dive in. What? Running, you got no. I'm tired of following my dreams, man. I'm just gonna ask them where they're going and hook up with them later. Mitch Hedberg. What makes a what Mitch Hedberg? What makes a comedy? One part, an audience who recognizes it only by its most titillating factors. The other, a comedian who understands that this is our most fully realized expression of grief. Mitch Hedberg died on March 29th. 3 days short of the punchline, or maybe not. Suppose comedy bases itself inside of a flaw, a narrow crease tucked away inside of a constricted artery, the great joke of your heart, Mitch. It was made to fail. In 1989, a long-haired fry cook living in his first apartment opens a fridge with no food. He pulls an ice tray out of the freezer and calls it dinner. Tells his roommate, check it out, man. I'm an ice sculptor. What did you sculpt? His roommate asks. He pulls his hair away from his face, a curtain opening for his wide-mouthed grin. He looks at his roommate and tells him, I made cubes. What makes something funny? The part of me that knows how to answer this question is a place completely devoid of humor. This is a language that falls out of form, propped upon consonants uncertain in their identity. A consonant is defined by an obstruction of breath. A vowel is breath. The syllable is a sliver of life, but the word is duplicitous. The word is racked by double and half meanings. So is this why, when they told you the lady was called heroin, you swore she'd save your life? Suppose that in the realm of deductive reasoning, comedy is what you would call the fallacy affirming the disjunct. One speedball cocktail, a congenital the heart, still living, not dead yet. Therefore, stick a needle in the vein that doesn't twitch. Why grow old anyway? The world is filled with old men who've talked about following their dreams, who've realized too late that their dreams were sick of following them. According to friends, to pull a Mitch, one must sneak out the back door without saying goodbye to anyone. As I can recall, every bit of telling memory is a certain fiction. The truth is best as I can build it. The Philippines is hot. This is true. Everyone looks at me and sees my father. This is also true. When I leave the farm of the woman who helped raise him when the money was not enough, she, my grandfather's sister, chases after me as I trod down the muddy pathway back to our car. She cries and asks me not to leave her again. I feel that this too is telling memory. The mist pulls into wide when the body reminds itself, learning her hands outstretched to God, sun stumbling across the pond canopy. Her hands, they say the story, all of her tears folding into the rain. Back. Every day, 18, and every day the city expands inside of my lungs. I live this in full heaving breaths, like I finally made it to a clearing where the white kids couldn't catch me anymore. And we boys, bold and buried in invincible swagger, slapped on with so much bad cologne that day in the city, bass piping out of our spindly forearms. We erupted into downtown like we could dap the streets for all of its shine. And the old lady, sculpted into the concrete on the corner of Sutter and Stockton, leaning into the wind, I heard her tell it like broken glass, go back to your country. Couldn't get angry enough to breathe right, trying to remember if there was a word for what makes you suddenly clutch your chest. Now imagine being told that she was only trying to understand her racism. It's complex, you know. Art is what happens to her. You need to let it frame in the air. There is an art to recognition. The art is in the naming. Art is a mirror. You can make an art out of this. You must say it before you can name it. There is no art in being safe. You must risk uncomfortable truth. The experience is not yours alone. This experience is not owned by you. It is brave and honest art. And how many more stories of trauma do we need to hear from its least willing participants? Art rejects the familiar. We've heard this story already. Stop telling us this story. The story is the old woman glaring through her oversized sunglasses at three brown boys who are presumed to be this comfortable. A strange and peculiar thing, the preciousness of all of her fears. Now imagine being asked for applause and feeling guilty that it takes you so long to remember your hands. I'm willing to say we share this particular sandbox equally. You just have to let me kick sand in your face for at least 30 years. There is nothing daring in showing this face. I too find it really easy to talk about how much I hate white people. It's a pastime. I eat that shit with my morning cereal. As a poet, I have found that what is most difficult is the velocity of how I love you. Things you can't just turn off. There, dog, is all the complex racism any one of us can handle. Thank you. I get really nervous.